One thing that is definitively clear across board between online and offline platforms is emotional reaction. Every time a conversation is initiated, the rebuttal is mostly not a logical response, but an emotional one. Backlash and counter-backlash seems like the default setting to any engaging topic. One of those back-and-forth topics in recent history is the supposed male crisis. The topic can be tricky because the crisis itself is neither obvious nor explicitly descriptive, but a myriad of consequential factors brought about by rapid progress in human evolution. Man increasingly finds out that factors that may or may not be within his control are now a key determinant to his status in society. In the past, a man's role in the society was predominantly determined by nature and what was necessary for societal and general human survival. Being the physically dominant gender, any role that required the physical strength trait was automatically designated to men. Without modern education or modern technology, for example, meant that to be a great hunter and bring down big game, one required insurmountable strength to compensate for crude hunting tools. Most societies were pre-structured and people had to fit into the structure and roles based on their natural identities. The more demanding a role was, the more prestigious it was perceived. Genders that were not as physically strong were relegated to less demanding minor roles that were devoid of all prestige. This gave men immense control of everything that was important in a society. The male-dominated leadership was seen as borderline tyrannical by weaker genders that could not fit into major roles, including that of leadership. The privilege and prestige of being needed for all key roles meant that men never had to search for a greater purpose in life. This was the case for centuries until the introduction of modern education. Initially, the traditional man was the biggest beneficiary of modern education because it refined the way he played his roles, but a clear understanding of pros and cons was ignored or outright missed. It would eventually become a consequential factor to everything that affected the modern man, both positively and negatively. Women roles in society were mostly domestic and thus required no education. With the introduction of the school system, clamor for equal rights and the push for women to go to school and participate more in society meant that men needed to evolve and adapt to new realities. This may have been the point that the future of the modern man was decided. Modern education, in its very nature, is meant to break down barriers by equipping one with knowledge and skills irrespective of their natural identity, thus leveling the success playfield. It is the most effective way to artificially structure a society since innate talents and skills can be bypassed or taught at school. Any traditional belief can be unlearnt or tweaked through education to fit into the modern world. An inherent skill does not necessarily guarantee advantage, so roles reserved for certain groups based on their biological makeup alone becomes pointless. Education enhanced innovation, which then brought about new technology. Technology brought about the crossbow. The crossbow then evolved to a hunting rifle, thus eliminating the need for hunters, a traditionally male role. This is the case in most other areas of society. First comes education, then innovation. Eventually, a valuable skill is rendered useless since it's now available to all. Nobody prepared men for this fast-paced, dynamic, progressive world, but the problem is neither progress nor inclusion. Men simply haven't evolved or adapted mentally to the new realities and demands. If men are acutely aware of potential redundancies of their traditional roles, they can stay ahead of it with the right strategy and mindset. Yes, it's easier said than done, but still doable, and resisting change is worse than evolving or adapting to it. Moreover, technology has provided men with more refined skills, but the provider role is no longer limited to men. Today, a man's role is about providing the structure of a society, not just putting food on the table for his family. Tech innovators are the most successful men in the world. This is because they have evolved to the modern role of designing the structure of their respective societies and the whole world in general. From the way people communicate, shop, date, and even move around, men's roles have never been bigger and better for those that understand the needs of the modern world. With the right attitude and adaptive mentality, you can be more influential now than ever before. Think of the men that built communication platforms, for example. They decide who says what on their platforms from any part of the world, and the world has to bend to their will. Not even kings or emperors of the past had that much global reach. With sentiments and narratives that are overtly anti-men, coming up with counter-narratives is one approach of evolving to new realities. The downfall of most men today comes with a particular gender attached to it. The law allows everyone to arm and protect themselves, but is discriminatory toward men with legal clauses such as the Boyfriend Act, but never the Girlfriend Act. More often than not, men become victims of these self-protection schemes by other genders. Entire media empires are built on male-bashing strategies, legitimizing and popularizing reverse sexism against men. The role of a man as a protector is deemed extinct, and the predator depiction is the more acceptable version, as mainstream media gorges itself on male demonization narratives. The generalization of an entire gender as evil highlights how commercially viable the anti-male agenda truly is. Men have to be choosy about how they consume information and on what platforms. It's counterproductive for men to support platforms that align with anti-male radical agendas. Unfair, one-sided narratives being hammered daily by mainstream media and their intellectually comprised experts affect other institutions too. Cheering the takedown of a man by the fake news media machine, irrespective of facts, may incentivize biased legal outcomes in the future by some in the justice system whose impartiality may already be compromised by radical groups' advocacy. Men also have to compete for similar opportunities with people who may not be adequately qualified but are of a favored gender. Advocacy by the media and radical groups propose granting opportunities to everybody through unfair DEI programs that exclude men. The current environment is designed to exclude men from everything that is important in a world that men built. The real crisis is the hostile anti-male environment that has been manufactured by feminists and fake news media machine and not the male gender itself. Men have equal claim to the planet and everything else in it, just like other genders. If they are all fighting for theirs, then men too must lead in doing so. Otherwise, the entire system will collapse under the weight of erratic, vaginal politics.